Oh yeah. Hi
Hey,
Neil. Hi.
hey, Precious, how are you?
Hi everyone. I'm good. I'm good. Hi everyone. Welcome to today's session. I mean, it's another Monday, and it's another time to be a 10x developer, 10x software engineer. So, if you are here, I just want to welcome you to today's episode. We have a lot of interesting things happening today, a lot of interesting conversations, a lot of AI stuff that came up within the week. And as we do it on this podcast, we always bring you tools, processes, and things you need to know about AI. Anything you need to know as a developer, right? Building AI, anything you need to know, we bring it for you. All right. So, quick check in. Hi, Neil. How was your weekend?
Good. It was relaxing. What about yours?
Mine was good. It was a lot, but it was good. It was a lot, but it was good. All right. So, any interesting thing you want to? I mean, I know we have a couple of things lined up.
Yeah. No, this weekend I
Like,
was working on the dev agent, kind of final stage, clean it up a little bit. I think we are very close to make a release for everyone in the community to get access to it. So I'm kind of excited about that. Yeah.
I'm really excited about this.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the Dave Edwards. I mean, since last year we've been working on this thing, and even when it
Yeah.
felt like we figured out how to make it work, distribution became an issue. It was difficult to
Yeah.
distribute. I mean, it's
Yeah.
also sort of one of the things that come with building technologies like that. I think it's one of the prices we pay, right? Okay, so all right. Over the weekend, I did a couple of stuff. You
Mhm.
know, snooping around, reading blogs, thinking about AI. It was more like it. And then this morning, yeah, I came to do some check-in question. I dropped a
The
check-in question
the
on.
last week was crazy though. There are so many AI news. It's just wild, right? So many things happening.
Yeah, a
Yeah, it's
lot, a
crazy.
lot. It's crazy. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, we're here to bring you the ones you need to know, the ones that are buzzing, the ones you need to talk about, right? So, Neil, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So we tend to focus on the story. I tend to share stories that I thought was interesting. Obviously, there are more stuff. We're going to need hours and hours to talk about it. But one of the interesting release last week was this Agents SDK from OpenAI. Now, this is very interesting. Precious, I don't know whether you know about this. So anytime you work with an LLM prior to this release, you sort of have to use an API. The standard API is going to sound really weird if you haven't used this before, is the one that OpenAI released back in days, I don't know, God knows how long, maybe a couple of years back. So they released sort of a first chat completion API that everybody uses. So even if you're talking to open source LLM models or other LLM models, not even OpenAI, models, you still tend to use that chat completion API that they released. So that's kind of became the standard uh, throughout the world. That API, so every framework kind of essentially built on top of that. But that API essentially has some limitations. So for an example, if you are building a conversational interface with your user, uh, and the chat message is going back and forth, for an example, you have to keep track of that conversation log because this OpenAI API was stateless, sort of, it didn't manage any state. Then if you want to access tools, for an example, like doing a web search, or if you want to access documents, that's also you had to do it on your own. So now with this release of Agents SDK, they have simplified lots of this stuff. I mean, to be honest with you, our agents and tools that we build, a lot of those tools uses the old API. So this is a matter of time we should upgrade to this. So the new Agents SDK provides essentially all these building blocks that we tend to use when we build agents or even AI applications on top of these models. So this new API has a built-in support for tools that include tools for doing web search, like you have seen the demo by OpenAI operators, right? So it accessing a browser, getting documents from or doing web search. You can do that now. They also have an API for accessing files and data. So if you can upload PDFs and documents and have this API kind of have access to that. And also, this is an interesting one. They have opened an API for computer use. So if you have seen the demo of that operator where it is opening the browser, accessing the browser, taking screenshot, all that is now possible with their SDK. It also has this capability, which I personally think is very, very useful and going to simplify a lot for software developers, is that it has that capability to manage the state. So when you send messages across, it will keep track of that conversation log, so you don't have to. So I feel like they have learned a lot looking at how people are building these applications. It took some of those best practices and wrapped it around an SDK.
Wow, wow. So this is going to like sort of replace the former API that they have, or are they still
Yeah.
going to continue
No,
both
it's
of them?
gonna replace. I mean, this is in all sense, to be honest with you, is superior. Now, this is the challenge, though, right? I mean, obviously, OpenAI is a company, private company, so it's going to be interesting because by default, open source and every other framework and library kind of built their stuff on top of the old API. So it will be interesting to see how these frameworks and tools upgrade to SDK, or how quickly they upgrade to this SDK.
Okay, okay. I mean, I think I don't think the upgrade is going to be a lot of issues because I mean this works. This is better. So if you want something better, you just have to put in the work, finding a way to upgrade to a better SDK.
Oh, a good
I
news
mean,
for
it's
us,
interesting.
maybe. No, that's true. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have built your app using the OpenAI APIs, like download their Python library and use it. If you have to upgrade, obviously you have to make changes to the API calls. There are certain part of it, our code base, we do that. But the large majority of code base, we rely on LangChain. So that provides a little bit of abstraction for us. So for those part of the code base, I think it will be very easy for us to upgrade. Or, I mean, it's not going to be a problem.
Oh, all right. I mean, this is interesting though. This is very, very interesting. I'm
I think it will simplify a life for software developers. It's going to become much easier to build agents now using these tools.
using these tools. Yeah. No worry, guys. If you are listening to this, our next podcast is going to our next masterclass, Sublime masterclass, is going to be on um,
Yeah,
how to build your own uh, your own
agents.
your own agent. Yeah, how to build your own agent. So I mean, you should join our community. Follow us on social media. Follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, anywhere. Just use @Stubli, and you're going to see us anytime it's live. You're going to get the flyer there. You're going to get all the information, how to register and everything. Maybe next week we'll share the registration link for you guys to register here. Yeah. So all right. So check out. Make sure you attend that class. I mean, this can work for both technical and non-technical people. So even if you are not a technical person, you can be able to go in and use this tool to build your own yeah, to build your own agent. All right. So yeah, this is the link. You can check it in the comments. That's the link to the news that we just shared about OpenAI. All right. So for me, I found this very interesting too. I find it very interesting. So it's from
Mhm.
China. You guys know the whole Chinese American war in the whole AI space. It is becoming very, very interesting. Last week, I
Mhm.
told you guys that I can't move to DeepSeek because DeepSeek, I have a relationship with ChatGPT. I mean, we understand each other. Now, I find this new tool. So, Nilanjan, remember how we sort of um, our operating system when we
Mm-hmm.
talked about multiple agents working on the hood to help
Mm-hmm.
developers to achieve a particular goal. That's exactly
Mm-hmm.
how this two works,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they
Mm-hmm.
have multiple agents.
Interesting.
They make use of
Mm-hmm.
multiple agents
Mm-hmm.
at a goal
Mm-hmm.
whenever you make. So let's say I go in there. The demo I saw, it
Mm-hmm.
helped someone to plan a trip to Japan. And
Mm-hmm.
then while he was helping the person to plan the trip, the person also requested that it to generate like a, a one pager website where it will put all the places they're supposed to go to, and then it should publish the website. So he was using travel. There's like a travel agent working on the hood. There's a web developer agent working on the hood. There are
Mm-hmm.
multiple agents working at the same time on one prompt, trying to
Mm-hmm.
give you like a very solid output. And the
Mm-hmm.
output was crazy because everything came out really nice. I mean, it's
What's the name of
it's
this tool
also
again?
it's called Magnus AI.
Manus AI. Yeah, yeah, heard about that. Mm-hmm.
Manus AI, yeah. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it was out. I think Jack Dorsey, the guy that built Twitter, he talked about it. Everybody has been talking about it, and
Yeah.
this was built by some guys. I'm trying to get their name. This was built by a research lab in China, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they
Mm-hmm.
call them Butterfly Effects. That's the
Mm-hmm.
name of the startups that the guys that built this, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So first of all, right now you can't test the tool. So if you are here, you're listening to me, you can't use this tool because it's only by invite that you can be able to play with it. So the big guys have invites and they are able to play with it. But for people like us, we might have to go to dark web where we need those Chinese to sell us access. Now, what should I did this little note where I said what can developers learn from this thing. First of all, it validated the idea that we have about our operating system, where we said that we're going to give you multiple agents that are going to work on the hood autonomously, building to
Mm-hmm.
help you get your stuff done. I think the only difference between what we tried to do then and what we have in this Manus AI is that their own is not autonomous. I will have to prompt it for the work to get to start. But for ours, it is autonomous. So you just have to go in. Our own, once you install it on your laptop,
Mm-hmm.
it goes on to doing everything for you, right? So they have the
There.
multi-agent architecture. Yeah,
Yeah.
come on.
No, no, no. I think you're right. I mean, I've seen this demo. Looks obviously pretty impressive. So,
Yeah,
so this is kind of like a general purpose agent, right? That has,
yeah,
I think it comes with 2025 tools that includes accessing browser. Um, I don't know whether it had access to payments. Um,
mm,
it can analyze uh, data. It can do research. So, I mean, I think this is going to be a very interesting trend we will see moving forward, right? A general purpose agent
yeah.
that automate your day-to-day task. I
I
still,
mean,
it could be my biasness, but I still see there will be tremendous value, and we're going to see a lot of them, which are agents which are very specialized on a specific vertical, because there are limits to general purpose agents. Uh, you being doing lots of things means you have a breadth of knowledge, but depth sometimes might be lacking, for which you need some specialization. So, but this is great for, like you said, booking a trip to Japan, or hey, I'm in a market to buy the next iPhone, or I'm looking for a
yeah.
second-hand iPhone, find the best deal for me, sort of thing.
I think they also used it in one of the demos. They used it to analyze the stock market, and it was able
No, that's true.
to
Yeah,
put the raw data. Yeah, so I think it's
yeah,
going to
yeah,
be more for personal use, more for
yeah,
personal use AI, rather
yeah,
than for. I'm really interested. I want to see how it is going to help developers in terms of building, right?
yeah,
I want to know if it can, go into an existing code base, maintain
yeah,
it, be able to
yeah,
do, because
yeah.
in their defense, all these AIs, they are all specialized in their own way. They are all working together at the
Mm,
same time to
mm,
produce a particular result, right?
I see,
And
I see.
the way the output comes, it comes in a particular way, where this agent has this output for you, this agent has this output for you. It generates PDF for each of the responses and then it gives it to you, depending on your prompt. So your prompt decides what agent goes to work.
Mm.
Yeah.
So this is the
But
invitation. I'm going to be curious to play with this. There are a couple of things I'm interested from the developer side, as how they
yeah.
price it. Doing all this stuff costs money. Just
Yeah.
yeah. So this will be kind of interesting how they price it. But I heard they have a huge waiting list now. I'm actually adding
Very
my.
good.
I'm joining the wait list.
Yeah. I
So
joined I joined yesterday. A
yeah,
lot of people, I heard people are selling invites on the dark web, selling access to the platform because everybody wants to use it.
interesting. Interesting.
Everybody wants to use it. I mean, there's also a question about the scalability of a tool like this. I
Mm.
mean, we've seen ChatGPT do videos, do all those things. I mean, they built these tools and they kept them separately, but I'm also interested on how fast this is going to scale
Yeah.
and how are they going to scale a product like this
Yeah.
since it's a general purpose, right? I'm
That is
also
a really good point because I feel like one thing that OpenAI has done really well is the scalability. I mean, their APIs are, their latencies are really within the range. I mean, I feel on the other hand, when I switch to some other LLM tools, I'm not going to name them here, they
yeah,
couldn't perform at that level. So as a engineering, they have done amazing work to scale the services, right?
yeah,
It's reasonably fast. So
yeah.
we'll see.
All right.
All right. So moving on to the next one I have, which going to be very developer focused, but I really like this, and this is something that I've been dying to have. So fundamentally, most of the services that we use, including the Manus AI, right? These are all companies, right? Proprietary services, right? You get access to their API. You probably have to pay them, and some of us are a bit also really worried and concerned about how they're going to use my data. If I'm searching for, I'm going to Japan, is that data going to be sold to advertiser? Should I start to get ads about them? All that stuff. So we are seeing an interesting trend happening where more powerful and accessible AI models are more powerful, and more powerful AI models are becoming accessible for software developers. So Google released this new. I know last week also we covered a Google news, but this week, but they're releasing lots of interesting stuff. Is called Google Gamma 3. So this is a new latest AI model that has around 128K token context window. So it's a big context window, and it's small. That means this is an open source model. That means their weights are open sourced. You can download this model on your machine locally and run it. Okay. The interesting thing about, and I always wanted this for our agents because this will take the cost drastically down. If I can offload some task of our agent to run locally, we can maybe make some of the stuff free for our users, right? So I was always craving for a model like this. So I played with this last night. I'm very impressed. So this model comes in like multiple size, right? You have 1 billion parameter. I think there is one with 7 billion, 12 billion, and 27 billion. So higher you go, the size of the model is going to be bigger. But the beauty is that you should be able to download this model locally. It is designed to run on a single GPU. That means you don't need a cluster of GPUs to run them. So that means if you have a decent or latest powerful laptop, you should be able to run it locally. And these models are multimodal. That means this Gamma 3 is not only able to generate code for you, but potentially you can give a screenshot of a Figma to this model and say, build an web app for me. So I
Wow.
thought that was really, really interesting release from Google.
Oh yeah. I mean, Google, I think they're playing catch up right now.
Yeah, they are.
They're playing catch up. And to think that, I mean, the early days of AI, they pioneered a lot of stuff. I can remember when I was working on something about on facial recognition sometime in 2020. It
Mm,
was OpenCV, right? OpenCV saved my
mm.
life because it was
OpenCV,
school
yeah, yeah.
assignment.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, so I used it. You know, they were there. I don't know what happened. I think they lost it. Maybe they lost faith in AI, and then
mm,
OpenAI took over. Right now, but I still believe they have most of the basic technologies, and if they put in, so we
mm,
should expect a lot of interesting tools. It's almost like they release new tools on a weekly basis right now.
mm. No, this
Yeah,
is yeah, this fundamental shift is good for us, right? There were few open source models out there, but there was always this performance issue, right? Oh, the
yeah,
OpenAI models are so much better than open source models that you are able to download and use it because they didn't perform well. But we are getting into the point where the gap between the top line LLM models and
yeah,
this open source models are shrinking. So
yeah,
that means, I mean, you know this, right? That means you don't have to worry about APIs, calls, limits,
yeah,
cost, and all that. You can package anything and run it.
yeah.
So I had
Totally
an
agree.
OCR application, like speaking of OpenCV. So what I did is that I locally downloaded that using Olama. We need to figure out how to show maybe code, maybe down the line, or maybe screens. Anyway, we'll figure that out. So I was
Yeah,
able to
we'll
download
figure
that
that
model
out.
easily. Yeah, we download the model easily. Then wrote a small Python code that will feed in an image and ask that Gamma 3 to analyze it, all running locally. And it gave a really, really good results. I must say that even a month back, it was almost difficult or impossible to do that on a laptop. So that change, I'm super excited about this because I feel like potentially I might consider this to be included in our biz dev agent because one of the things that I'm worried about is, you know this, right? We take lots of screenshots to figure out where the users are
Yeah,
or when we clicking button. Those are those are kind of expensive. Computer use APIs are very
yeah.
expensive. So if I can offload locally to a model like Gamma 3, then it becomes really, really reasonable for us to even open it as a
Mm.
freemium model to our users.
Oh, nice, 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 nice.
Yeah, huge.
It's
Thank
interesting
you.
that.
Thank you, Google, for doing this. Mhm.
Yeah, and also make it. I mean, open source is that. I mean, these days, a lot of free tools, making it possible for us to still have
Mhm.
access to the things that you will still have
Mhm.
access to when you're on a paid model, right?
Mhm.
All right. Yeah. So before we go to the menus, which Nilanjan is going to talk about, I find this very simple but very interesting news. And the news is this. It's not technical. This is
Okay.
something very basic. So Anthropic Anthropic CEO, Anthropic is the company that builds cloud. If you use cloud, yeah, the agents, just normal use agents, just like
Claude,
GPT. Yeah,
Claude.
Claude AI. Yeah, Claude.
Mhm.
So Dario Amodi, that's his name. He said on Friday that we are 6 months from Friday away from AI writing 90% of the codes that we're ever going to need. So other people have been saying this. I mean, a lot of other people have made side comments, but no one has said, giving specific timelines. He said we are 6 months away from AI writing 90% of the code, right? And then he now went on to say that anybody, which is something that Nilanjan has preached for a very long time, he went on to say that anybody is going to become a developer. So if you can think of a solution, you can build it because 90% of what you need can be given to you by AI, right? So, and this goes on to ask the question of if development, as we know it, if it's going into extinct, if um, if would there be risk? Is it going to affect big companies? How are they going to be able to survive this? What's going to happen to corporations? Who is going to maintain codes that were written in 1997, right? Codes that were written in some of the legacy code bases that we have and all those things. So it's, I mean, I saw people on Twitter arguing this, people saying, oh, that's not going to happen. Some people are saying that, yeah, that is going to happen. Some people were scared. Some people were happy that at least there's a timeline to when we won't have need for us to build things again, right? And then that also goes back to something that was mentioned in the Manus AI video demo, where they said, and also you talked about it last week, right? Where they picked up um, projects from platforms like Fiverr, Upwork, and they
Upwork,
give
yeah,
it to and they give it to these AI models, and they tell them to build or solve this problem.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
last week you mentioned they have like 60% success, right? 60% or
60,
40, yeah,
60%
60
for the uh, um, planning related task.
for planning related tasks, yeah, right?
I think
So
25 or 30 could be off here for individual contributor task.
individual, yeah, right. So we going to see this increase? Given that, what do we? I mean, I think there are some people, yeah, there are people joining us live. So I would like to really see comment on this. I think this is just me asking question. What do you guys think? Do you think that? I mean, cloud, yeah, AI as we know it is one of the best when it comes to code.
That's true.
Um, yeah, it's one of the best
Sonnet,
when it comes to code,
Sonnet is one of the
debugging.
best. Mhm.
Yeah, they're one of the best. So are they building something? Are they going to give us a new tool anytime soon? Are they going to show us this amazing thing that we've not seen before? Nobody
Yeah.
knows. But he's saying that we are 6 months away. So this is 17th of March. In 6 months' time, it's going to be around September or so. We are going to be on this podcast again, and I'm going to ask you guys. We are going to do like a quick review and ask ourselves, did AI really take over, or was he just saying? Right. Yeah.
Mhm. It's. I, I have no reason to believe that these tools will not get better, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the question is, is how we gonna figure out how to use them to produce better software. We
I
talked
mean,
about this
that's
in the
what we've
length.
been.
We're still gonna have a
Yeah.
human in the loop to kind of control and
Yeah.
manage this.
I mean, that's what we've been advocating at. I mean, through Tuglian community in the past how many
Yeah,
years?
yeah,
Yeah, we've been talking about how
yeah,
developers can be able to use these
yeah,
tools to
yeah.
do better, do good, do
Right,
stuff, do interesting
right,
things. Yeah.
right, right.
All right.
Okay, so
So to the next story.
the main story. Well, we are already 27 minutes. That's crazy. Well, time
Yeah.
flies when you have fun. So
Yep.
main story is that I want to share a concept which I think is very, very powerful and is getting lots of buzz these days. It's called Model Context Protocol, MCP. Okay. MCP is a standard that is introduced by Anthropic, the same maker of the Claude AI. This is a standard for allowing AI models to connect to external data source and tools. Okay, so almost like an standard for creating an universal connector. So think of this as an USB-C USB-C port for AI applications. Okay. Now, why? So if you think about this, Precious, one of the challenge with building kind of reasonably interesting application using large language models are isolated, right? They don't have access to real-time data. So if you ask LLM for an example, well, give me the latest tech news that happened in last 7 days. By itself, LLM doesn't know what happened in last 7 days because it only has access to training data, right? So make it useful, the systems needs to connect to real-time data sources, existing software systems. So for an example, we might have to connect LLM to a web browser or web search engine, or we might want our LLM to connect to your GitHub code repository so that it can make changes as a data source. All this so far sort of required off-the-shelf custom roll your sleeve sort of integration, right? So again, OpenAI APIs being standard, OpenAI has this concept of function calling that became like a standard way to do this. So you can define your function with a description to the model saying, hey, whenever you need to access real-time data, call my function. Functions are nothing but like a Python functions. Models were smart enough to read the description of your function. Oh, user is asking for real-time data. I don't have real-time data, but I see a function that's saying that can do it for me, and it will invoke that function. Okay, that's how we've been going around and doing this. Okay. So Anthropic guys figured out that saying, hey, this is becoming a real issue, right? We might have to figure out a standard way of doing this so that all LLMs can build this and we don't have to rely on a proprietary API from OpenAI. So that's what MCP stands for. And now, to give you a concrete example, we could, let's say you want to build an application, Precious, you've been saying, right? Let's say, Precious, you want to build an application which will take a Figma design as an input and generate a working web application. This is your next startup idea. So what you could do now is you could create an MCP for Figma and MCP for GitHub. Okay, these are two data sources. So then what your application will do is that it will use MCP Figma to extract the design elements from Figma and use MCP GitHub to push the code changes. You see how this is working? So your LLM becomes a point where it connects to all these external data sources. So MCP helps lots of the problems that we are having when everybody's solving this problem, by the way, differently. So MCP is kind of following, wait a minute, let me give you a real good structure and guidelines how to do this. So that's just becoming a really, really popular standard now. So if you are, for an example, maybe we should do sort of this could be another interesting masterclass for us, how to build this. So obviously the specification provides lots of interesting guidelines, like, hey, if you want to build an MCP, let's say we want to build an MCP server for Tubelian so that any LLM can suck in Tubelian profile data of an user. We could do that. Then nobody needs to know how Tubelian works. They will just plug in MCP server and it will suddenly have access to Tubelian. So it makes it super easy to connect to data sources.
I mean, when you talk about this, I think of it in terms of, API and probably like a database with an endpoint where I go and I have access to, real-time data
So
of what's going.
this is good in a way that this is a good question. So this is essentially not an API. This is APIs for APIs.
Okay.
So because it's such a general, so that means you as an LLM model don't have to understand, okay, this is Precious API. I need to understand how this API works. Or this is API from Tubelian. I need to figure out, read the documentation, how it works. It doesn't have to do that. Since MCP provides an abstraction layer, LLM can connect to any MCP, any API without knowing them.
So it doesn't need to know the API.
And doesn't need to API, it can discover the API automatically.
So let's say I want the MCP to have access to my information. Let's say I have like a storage or data of all the farmers information in Nigeria, and I want MCP to discover it anytime people are searching, making call, searching for
Okay,
information.
so if you want to
How do I
create
make
that,
my data available for it?
So you when you build your own MCP, MCP follows sort of a old school client server architecture. So you're going to build a MCP client. Okay, so the MCP client will provide that interface about and expose the capabilities. Okay, this is the pressure server from Nigeria. An MCP client will expose saying this is all the things that it can do. Now your LLM application will just talk to the client. It doesn't need to know what's happening behind the scene. So it'll just talk to the client. Your client, on the other hand, will talk to the server and will know exactly all the details. So you can hide all the details. This architecture allows to hide all the details from LLM.
Nice. I mean,
Yeah,
I think this
it's
is interesting.
super powerful. I mean, I had some
And
crazy
super helpful.
ideas like using this sort of mechanism to build like a LinkedIn for AI agents, right? Because now if agents sort of exposes this capability through MCP client, if
Yeah.
somebody wants to steal this idea, go for it. Then we can essentially build a LinkedIn. So imagine a LinkedIn for AI agents, right? Where
Yeah.
agents instead of having a profile of a human, we'll have a profile of AI agent, which will say, I'm this Nigerian server agent. I can provide all these services. Uh,
Oh, I think I get
yeah,
the idea. Like the marketplace kind of stuff.
marketplace for
Having
AI
different
agents.
analysis.
A marketplace for
Yeah.
AI agents. You go, okay, yeah, this is an interesting agent. I want to hire you
Yeah.
for 1 hour or whatever that mechanism is. And you should be able to, okay,
Wow.
you can, here is my MCP client, just connect to your thing. And all this could be sort of automated.
Wow. Wow.
That'll
That's interesting.
be good
That's a very
hackathon. I've
interesting
been
idea.
thinking about that for a long. This would be really good. Yeah. So this again, nothing that you cannot do without MCP. Obviously, OpenAI's APIs have all these capabilities, but the
Yeah.
difference is again is MCP is more standardized and open source, where OpenAI is not. And
Yeah.
OpenAIs are great for one-off calls, but MCP has a good flexibility of like keeping ongoing conversation, right? It can be stateful. Uh,
Oh.
in some cases, it's super useful to have this information, right?
Yeah.
Like an user details could be saved. So that way, every time you're making a call to MCP, it will know exactly, oh, this is for Precious, and I know exactly what to
Yeah.
respond back.
Wow. 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 And that will also in return going to reduce hallucination in AI, which is one of the biggest problems that we have these days. Because it now has like
Yeah,
accurate and more real-time information.
yeah, and that all this could be now easily be hidden. I think this opens up lots of interesting possibilities where, I mean, I could see a third-party marketplaces of MCP tools out there, right? So if you want to build a, like you said, a stock analyzer or tracker,
Yeah.
that you could open up through MCP. So instead of using Bloomberg's terminal and pay millions of dollars, an
Yeah.
LLM could use your third-party MCP, which provides really interesting stock insights, and
Yeah.
clients users could pay for it.
Yeah.
So we could see like a business building using this stuff.
Yeah. Wow. That's very interesting. That's a very interesting one. You
Yeah.
guys, you see that this a lot of interesting stuffs are going on. A lot of interesting stuffs are going on behind the scene. Everybody's coming out with new tools, new paradigm, new ways of solving problems using AI every day coming up, right? Every week. All right. So if you have been with us from the beginning to this point, I give you a huge shout out. If you would drop a comment, that's going to really help me to appreciate you even further. Right. I just want to encourage you also to like the comments, like drop a comment, like this stream, share it. I mean, maybe in the coming months, we're going to find ways to put this on Spotify and other, podcast platforms so that we can have, more people have access to this. So this is episode 2. I'm trying to keep track of the episode. This is episode 2, right? We're going to be here again next week, Monday, same time, 10 a.m. EST, 3 p.m. WAT. I think that should be around 2 p.m. GMT, and then I think it should be 7:30 p.m. IST for those in India time zone, right? So give a big shout out to everyone that joined us. We really appreciate you. Thank you very much for coming. Um, See you next week.
Yeah.
But
See
before
ya.
we leave, just a quick update. Yeah, you want to give an update on any updates on the
Oh yeah.
product side of
So
things, William?
yeah. So I'm very close to. So you figured a couple of challenges we had with our dev agent. Why we haven't were able not to able to release that was indexing the. There's a couple of technical. Maybe you guys are not interested in that. So I found a mechanism using which I think we should be able to ship it. So the version that I'm looking at would be, initially I was thinking we'll have dev agent running in the cloud for everybody, which obviously brought lots of scalability issues. So the version that we're going to be releasing now is going to be more running locally for developers. So that way you should be able to download this. And there are lots of other mechanisms we did to reduce the cost. So finally, I feel like we should be able to release this as a freemium model. So every developer will get access to limited number of API calls, obviously weak, but that should be good enough for you to play with it and make some progress on your project. So I'm very, very
All right.
close to releasing this.
Right. Make sure you are part of our community because, of course, we always give, privileged access to community members once the SOO launches. Right. So yeah, on the community side, we have a community call coming up very soon. We have a masterclass coming up very soon. I'm thinking maybe we should do a masterclass on MCP after doing a masterclass on how to build your own AI, AI agents. We're going to share the details of that masterclass by next week when we are on this podcast again. You have more details. We're going to share the flyers with you, and also we have a lot of interesting stuff coming up in the community. I dropped a poll this morning, more like a quiz. So if you have the answer, the quiz says, maybe I should read it out here. Maybe the people here live with us can comment and drop like a message in the comments. Yeah, the quiz says, what do you think is the future of work? And the options are, um, what do you think is the future of work? The options are very simple. We have four options, and we have freelancing, we have on-site jobs, we have AI, and we have shared roles. What do you think is the future of work? So you can do well to drop the answer, your answer in the community. Once your answer and the reason why you answered that, you can also drop it here. If you drop it here and you win, you get it right. I am obviously going to bring out time to appreciate you, probably even send you a message and appreciate you properly next week. So if you answer it here, what do you think is the future of work? Freelancing, AI, remote, and what's the other one? On-site and shared roles. Maybe I should drop it in the comments. Yeah, so that you guys can participate. Yep, 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 yep. So if you check the comments now, you are going to see this. What do you think is the future of work? All right. So let's just call this our question of the week. We'd like to get your answer. We'd like to get your answer. So see you all next week. Thank you very much for hanging out with us every Monday. We're going to be here next week Monday with a lot of interesting AI news and things around that coming for you. So see you all next week. I enjoy your week. I hope this week is going to be an interesting one for you. Yeah. So bye bye.
Take care.
Bye
Bye.
everyone. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.